educates its students that every problem has more than one approach, a pro, a con, an affirmative, a negative. Only debate denies students the right to advance opinions without refutation. Only debate refuses students the laziness of being cemented into society's ruts. Oh, other academic programs offer cause and effect, but they go to one theory and support it at the exclusion of all others. Debate doesn't operate that way. Instead, those of you who coach expose your students to non-limited investigation. You preach clash because it improves solutions. You place your own debaters' evidence under intense scrutiny because it's for their own good. Last year at the BJCC, I thrilled at the evidentiary challenges that were made by high school students in that final round of debate. And they were able to do so because coaches like you taught them. This community has also quarreled with the notion that the First Amendment merely requires the formality of speech. This community, above all others, understands true open-mindedness entails more than just saying, oh, okay, you can speak. It demands that we listen. It knows that listening is more than just hearing. It knows listening involves honest evaluation. No other activity teaches the concept of true listening, but those of you who coach do, and your students learn because you taught them. A number of years ago, a Mars Hill team reached the finals of a university tournament only to face one of the top, in fact, the top team in the nation. They did go on to win nationals that year. Now, it was the 5th or 6th time that year that we had met them in competition. And we lost every previous round. No one expected us to win. Frankly, I didn't expect us to win. I'm not sure the young ladies on my team expected they would win. But they were good listeners. And they heard the top speaker in the country double turn a key argument into an R. And my 2AR was beside herself. Her rebuttal focused on one issue, the era and its implications. And they won because they listened. This community quarrels with superficial reasoning. Those of you who coach, teach your students, it's not enough to have a computer filled with data. They've got to understand that data and defend it. They've got to know its dimensions, its weaknesses, because you teach them that. You teach them to extend and corroborate the evidence they use. No other community demands that its followers do that, but you do. And what you offer to your students is priceless. And that's why debate and forensics continue to exist. Over 30 years ago, Judge Pelham wrote, "Debate and forensics has survived almost miraculously. I'm not sure any other endeavor lacking finances, administrative support, and public awareness could do the same." Today, we know why it survives. It survives because those of you who are coaches will it to survive. It survives because you know it has no replacement. For years, the community quarreled with pundits who sounded its death knell. In the 70s, we were told that debate had no relevance, that debaters concerned themselves with irrelevant issues such as global warming, gas from algae, pandemics, nuclear proliferation, wind power. In the 80s, we were told that debate would die because its adherents did not communicate, that debaters sounded like pregnant steam engines about to give birth. In the 90s, we were told that debate would die because it was elitist, that it existed only for the wealthy. And this community quarreled with those evaluations. And today we know that those issues in the 1970s were relevant. And today we know senators and U.S. representatives and judges and lawyers and CEOs and college presidents who testify that debate and forensics taught them to communicate. It's no accident that 2 of Alabama's 7 U.S. representatives are former debaters. They learned to communicate. And today, with Melissa and the Barclay Forum leading the way, there is open challenges to elitism in the debate community. Support of urban debate leagues and scores of other initiatives are making a difference. And so debate and forensics will continue to survive. They offer benefits that nothing else can. And those of you who are here know that. Now, there will always be some whose only motivation is winning, and there will be those who are enamored with ballot counting and earning bids to nationals and TOC, but debate isn't dependent on those things. Now, please understand, I don't belittle success. I appreciate the greatness among those who are our leaders, the national champions, the ones who will have the coveted keys here at the Barclay Forum. They deserve that honor. But last year, as I was listening to that stellar final round in the BJCC, I applaud those who were in the round. But I understood that there were hundreds of students who were seated in that audience, and they were gaining something that was of equal value. They were gaining an education far greater than any that had been learned in any classroom. And that's a tribute to those of you who are forensics educators here in this audience this afternoon. And as well to literally the hundreds of your coworkers in all those schools that will never compete for a national championship, because they too are privy of the mystique of debate. They too devote thousands of unpaid hours to help students reach their potential. They and you understand. There is no other way to explain why you do what you do. Many of you have minuscule compensation for your time. You're given inadequate recognition, precious little gratitude. And yet, you labor on like zealous missionaries on behalf of the activity that you know makes a difference. And I am thankful to you that you will continue to quarrel. You are amazing men and women. You have great abilities. And you hold the future of the world in your hands. And when you leave this assembly this afternoon, please understand, what you do makes a difference. You are appreciated. And that's why I appreciate Glenn and Melissa, Michael, the others of the Barclay Forum. My first trip to Emory came some 45 years ago as a high school coach. I coached then and now in the hinterlands of debate, isolated from other debate programs by 2 hours in every direction. And Mars Hill was not your average private school. It barely existed, and salaries were low, and I worked at 2 jobs. And there were times when I honestly wondered, is it all worth it? And more than any other factor, our annual pilgrimage to the Barclay Forum convinced me it was. Year after year, I felt someone appreciated what I did. Year after year, Glenn and Melissa convinced those of us who coached that what we taught meant something. They reminded us that our jobs carried meaning far beyond the coveted keys. They reminded us that every student in debate and forensics is a winner. And they challenged us to bring our administrators and let those administrators see the gem that was often undiscovered in their midst. And time and again, those administrators went home singing the praises of this community. And so Melissa and Susan and the other members of the Barclay Forum, this afternoon I say thank you. Thank you for quarreling with us when our priorities were out of line. Thank you for quarreling with us when we refused to listen to others. Thank you for demanding fairness and equality and true academic freedom. And to all you who are coaches who are in the audience this afternoon, in advance, thank you for continuing the quarrel. Dostoevsky's masterpiece, The Brothers Karamazov, concludes. Karamazov stands by Ilyusha's stone memorial, and he tells those who are there, we shall soon part. And whatever happens to us in later life, if we attain honor or fall into great misfortune, still, let us remember how good it once was here, united by a good and kind feeling which made us, for the time we were here, perhaps better than we are. May God bless you and your